Welcome back, Pancake Rockers, to another episode of Conversations at the Rocks, where we share real life conversations to help you breathe easier and live fuller. Today, I'm really excited to welcome Janine Adams, certified professional organizer and the owner of Peace of Mind Organizing. Janine is passionate about helping individuals and families create spaces that feel manageable, functional, and supportive of everyday life. She also shares her expertise through her blog and podcast, where she offers practical tips and encouragement for creating more peaceful, organized homes. In our conversation today, we're going to focus on something that often goes unspoken, and that's living with chronic illness or lung disease, and how it can impact your ability to maintain your home, and how thoughtful organization can actually help support our health, energy, and our overall well being. Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining me today at Life at Pancake Rocks. I am interviewing with Janine Adams, who is a certified professional organizer and helps people create order in their house since 2005. Could you please tell me a little bit about your company and what you do?
Sure. Well, thanks for having me. Peace of Mind Organizing helps folks create order in their homes. I started the company 20 years ago as a solopreneur and now have employees and am now typically running the business more than interacting with clients as much as I used to. But we go into homes typically in teams and help clients declutter and create systems so that they can enjoy order in their homes. Where it's a very rewarding line of work where we get to really help clients create some big change in their lives.
That's great. And so for my clients and stuff and people that I work with, they have a lot of chronic illness. So you have done this for a very long time, and is have you come across a lot of people with chronic illnesses and who need that really help in that home?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like there are so many people who have chronic illness in general. Like we all encounter people, I think, who are dealing with that, and oftentimes that can lead to disorder or a need for a professional organizer. So we certainly have had over the years many clients who are might have lung disease or really lots of different uh, uh, chronic problems, and also depression. That's another one that I know goes hand in hand with a lot of other ailments, but can also really make it difficult to create and maintain order in the home. So, absolutely, and when we do have clients who have chronic disease, we're especially mindful of trying to make the process as easy as possible for them physically, so they can be seated and we bring items to them for their decisions rather than they're moving from room to room, and just doing whatever we can to make sure that the time we spend with them is as easy on them as possible. Because the hard part, really, for any client is the all the decisions. The brain power side of having someone help you get organized is exhausting, but we don't want to add physical exhaustion to it to the extent that to the extent we can mitigate it.
Yeah. Well, and especially my clients who have a lot of lung disease issues, it's very taxing anyway to have trouble breathing and then having to walk around and then making those stressful decisions, which ramps up your cortisol levels and just causes a lot of stress and breathing issues. That can definitely be a problem with those types of clients, and really any clients who do have any chronic illness or have those issues. Like you said, it can feel very overwhelming. What do you see most often did those people struggle with keeping organized or keeping maintained, such as the kitchen or laundry? Or I think you do some paperwork stuff too, some budgeting stuff.
Yeah, my budgeting stuff usually doesn't involve paperwork. Actually, it's more digital. But yes, in all of the above, right? But the thing that really jumped out at me from that list is laundry. Laundry is a huge problem for many people because it so easily becomes overwhelming because it's easier to go online and order more underwear than it is to actually wash, dry, and fold and put away your underwear, maybe not fold. Um, and then when you do that, which I get, it's easier, but once you do that, then you just have more underwear, right? In this little example. And so it just piles up to a really overwhelming level in many homes. And I usually find that if I see a laundry overflow, if you will, it's usually because there's more clothes than will fit in the storage spaces, so people can't put their clothes away. And then the clean clothes get mixed up with the dirty clothes, and it becomes just really hard on people. So I think, I mean, all areas of the home can be challenging, but I think maybe because we do so much laundry, I mean, that it's definitely a daily thing. It's not like holiday decor, which we only deal with once or twice a year. It's a big one for sure. And what we'll often do is we like, if we're going to be donating, we're going to help clients let go of clothes. We like the clothes to be clean if we're going to donate them. So sometimes we'll have the client use a laundry service that we'll do pickup and then return clean and folded laundry. And then we'll do the decluttering process so that they only keep as much as they can actually put away with a certain amount of ease, and let go of the rest of the stuff. So that's my ideal of ways to handle overwhelming laundry, and then try to get into a routine of doing it regularly. I feel like the fewer clothes you have, the less laundry you have to do. So so having fewer, actually it's true of everything. After 20 years of organizing, less stuff means less difficulty organizing it.
Yeah, that's you bring up a really interesting thing. I never really realized that, but does that happen a lot where people do fall back on just instead of cleaning something, they just want to buy more stuff with it?
Yeah, or cleaning in the case of laundry, but it might be that they can't find the thing because they're, let's say they're looking for scissors. I see a lot of scissors. Can't
Oh,
find your
yeah.
scissors, buy some more scissors. And then when
Yeah.
we come in and we sort everything together, or we sort room by room, um, they discover they have many, many scissors. Or I once remember my own kitchen gadget drawer I cleaned out. This was a few years back, and I think I had 3 or 4 pizza cutters. Like, who needs 3 or 4 pizza cutters? And I
Yeah.
didn't realize I had them. They're all in the same drawer. I mean, it's so stuff does get hidden, and then it's just, oh, I guess I thought I had a pizza cutter. Oh, I guess not. I'll go get one. So I think that definitely having an overabundance of items feeds more overabundance if you can't find the stuff. Or
Yeah.
as in the case of laundry, truly, I think for many people, it's just easier to, in the world of fast fashion when things are cheap, and Amazon where you don't have to leave the house, it's
Yeah.
just easy to get new.
Yeah. That brings up another thing too. So obviously, organization in general reduces our stress and makes us feel healthier, more relaxed, and it supports a better, healthier home. What are your organization when you come in and you see this home that's very cluttered and organized? What's kind of just roughly, let's just say the kitchen, because that's sometimes the center of the house. What's kind of roughly a way that you could organize just the kitchen in general to make it healthier?
Well, most cluttered kitchens have a lot of stuff on the counters, right? I mean,
Hmm.
that's tends to be a big problem. That's when you really realize you have a problem. It's when the countertops are really full. And typically the stuff that's on the counter is stuff that's newer, right? Because you couldn't put it away. So typically starting with the storage areas, the cupboards and so forth, decluttering them. And in a kitchen, often there's a lot of expired food, which is tedious but
Hmm.
easy to let go of. Then get rid of the stuff you're not using to create space for the stuff you are using. And a very first step in any room, but particularly a kitchen, is throwing away obvious trash. Because I'm a professional organizer, and I could go in my kitchen counter right now and probably throw away 5 things. Stuff that notes and things that accumulate. So getting rid of obvious trash, and then it's starting with the storage spaces, and which means, I mean, it's physical work, which is the tricky part for folks who have chronic illness. But when we're helping people, we're emptying the spaces, sorting like things together so we can get rid of the extra pizza cutters, and get rid of the expired food, and see how many tins of cinnamon we have, and that sort of thing. And then putting it all back in a way that makes sense for how you use it. So, especially if you're dealing with chronic illness or fatigue, or mobility issues, you want things to be the top real estate to be the stuff that you really use. So, and that's different for everyone. So I can't, there's no rule that oils go on the third shelf. It's all about what
Hmm.
you use and where you use it, but storing things that you use frequently in the easiest to reach places near the place where you use them is a good principle to follow. And sometimes it's easiest to empty all that stuff out and put it back. I remember when I first started organizing it, I was swapping services with another organizer, and we did my pantry, which was a hot mess. And we brought the stuff out, sorted it together as we brought it out. And then she said, it had a big impact on me. What do you use most of these categories of things? What do you use most? It was a really simple question. And I said, I don't know, let's say it was breakfast cereal. She said, okay, let's put that away first. And then we just in order put away the things that we use most, so that the least used stuff was on the bottom or the top, which is
Oh,
straightforward and really helpful. But
yeah,
also
that.
it has to get repeated, right? It's not like a one and done thing, because food expires, or what we eat changes, or how we cook changes. So it's a good idea, when possible, to refresh it. And then the other part of it is, if you can do that, if you can let go of enough stuff that you can put away everything and have what is for you a clear counter. And everybody's different on that too. Like some folks are perfectly happy with the food processor living on the counter.
Hmm.
And that's personal, and also depends on how much you use it. But once you get to that space, that clear counter, then if you can create a routine of putting stuff away regularly, like
Hmm.
at the end of the day, or running the dishwasher at the end of the day, so that it stays clean. Because if you just have one day's worth of stuff to put away, and this is true of any surface, one day's worth of stuff typically is pretty easy to put away. It's when you let it build up that it becomes overwhelming. True of dirty dishes, it's true of your desk top.
Hmm.
So that combination of, like, if you can get someone to help you, like an organizer or a trusted friend, a non-judgmental, helpful, cheerful friend, to help you get to square one, or would be the night, just a nice launching pad for the next step, and then try to stay on top of putting stuff away regularly.
Yeah, and that's a very good point too. Because certain people who maybe are healthy and could pretty active, pretty energetic, can put those food processors way up high, or something like that. But someone who has a chronic illness, it may be that it does need to be where they can get to it immediately and not have to heavy lift this thing around all the time. That's very
Exactly.
important.
And then let go of should. I mean, I feel like some people might feel like, well, either I should be able to lift that food processor,
Mhm.
or um, I should be using a food processor because that allows me to make healthy food. But if you can't store it in a way that allows you to use it, maybe you let go of the should. There's so much should when it comes to organizing, and really, especially when you're dealing with any kind of illness, it's all about you and your capabilities. And then, yeah, I mean, I feel for folks. I think I shared with you, my husband had a heart transplant a couple of years
Mhm.
ago. So leading up to that, for like 2 or 3 years, he has an advanced heart failure, and so he also couldn't walk from one room to another without having to rest, and he had breathing issues and so forth. And unfortunately, I don't have chronic illness, fortunately for us, because we were living in a two-story house at that time, and I was running up and down the stairs constantly.
Yeah,
Yeah, we moved so that before we knew he was going to have a transplant, we now have no stairs, which is fabulous.
yeah.
But the way we had to organize while he was sick was different than when he was well, or certainly different than it is now, now that he is well.
Hmm. Yeah.
So yeah, and getting someone to help. So if you're having someone help you organize, you might have to advocate for yourself, because some people who are not professional organizers or not trained might just think, okay, I'll do it how I would do it. This is the best spot for this thing, because they're, as you say, energetic and can reach, but you have to be able to say, no, 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 I can't reach that. Or I
Hmm.
don't tell my team members, I'm short, I'm 5'3", and I once had a team member who was like 6 feet tall, and I was always saying, look, how tall is the client? We have to make sure it fits. And then occasionally I had one client family who was very tall, and the way we organized for them would never have worked for me. I couldn't have reached anything.
Hmm.
But
Yeah.
it doesn't matter, right? It's not about the person who's helping you, it's about you.
Yeah. But that brings a good point too, with your caregivers. It's very important. Most, I mean, not necessarily most, they should be this way, but chronic illness people should be able to have caregiver or some help in the home to help
Mhm.
support them. But that caregiver also should be open to, I'm here to help you and assist you, not take over, which can be easy and can definitely happen.
Yeah.
Um, do you come across that, especially if you have families who maybe, are wanting to help out an elderly caregiver who lived on their own, and now their caregivers are coming in and kind of taking over the house? Have you come across certain situations like that?
Yes, and I actually, in my own family, when my parents were alive, I remember well that my mom had what was the deal? Oh, my dad had to go in the hospital. That was it. And I hired a caregiver. I couldn't get there in time, so I hired a caregiver to be with my mom for 24/7 for about a week. She had Parkinson's. And when I got there as soon as I could, and my dad was home from the hospital, that caregiver had rearranged everything. Like she had totally shaken up how my mom's prescriptions were organized.
Um,
My dad was super organized and he had a system in place for
mhm.
my mom's pills. And he was furious, and it was
Yeah.
very presumptuous on her part. And I do know that she's a good person who was just felt like she could improve the situation. But it's not helpful if you don't take into account the individual's needs and also the way they think, because you might have a way to improve a system in somebody's home that that makes perfect sense to you as the caregiver or the organizer. But if it doesn't work with the way the client thinks, or sometimes, especially older folks, they've been doing it the same way for a long time. They're not necessarily open to new ways to do it, and they'd
Mhm.
rather have the familiar. And that's
Mhm.
up. We all have to respect the client, or the individual who's being cared for. It's not up to our preferences. But yeah, I've seen that, and I feel like with our clients, I, I don't feel like I've seen too much in the way of family undoing anything in their efforts to take care. But usually there are not necessarily that many family members around when we're working with clients.
Okay.
Usually
Which
higher.
helps because then you're just working with the client and what they want in their home.
It's our preference. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that's definitely, I could see that being very, very nice to have for sure. Um, when you have, what do you think you would give for those caregivers? What would be some sort of organization to say, or how, I guess, how should they act, or what advice would you give if you did come across that situation when it's, the family, the client, maybe an elderly person or somebody with an illness, and then they have their caregiver there. When you guys walk in the home, what's kind of the first thing that you would maybe say, especially if you do maybe see a little bit of a conflict with how they do things?
Well, the client is always the top priority, right? So we're always talking to the client. If a caregiver is there wanting to help, that's great. We might ask some questions of the caregiver as well, because maybe he or she is the one dealing with this particular thing more, like just to get confirmation. But if I were giving advice to the caregiver, it would be ask questions of the client. Don't make assumptions. Check before you do things,
Hmm.
and get confirmation that this will work, especially if you're changing up systems. Sometimes you have to change up systems because someone's come home from the hospital or something, right? And so it's everything's different. And we've been called in a number of times for folks who are in the hospital. A family member will call us and say we have to get their home decluttered so it's safe when they come home. And we always try to work with the client, like it can be tricky if they're in the hospital, right?
Yeah.
But I've had a number of situations where we've come in shortly after they've come home, and we're sprucing things up for them, just making it more comfortable and more safe. And the caregiver can be a big part of that. And if the systems have to change because of necessity, then the client kind of has to accept some change, but
Hmm.
checking with them throughout the process to
Yeah.
make sure they're comfortable with the change is, to me, way better than like having a big reveal. I
Yes.
don't
Yeah.
like, yeah, don't want somebody coming home from the hospital to a completely different home.
Oh yeah. I mean I mean you understand because you've been through it with your husband with the transplant, but definitely before my transplant, I had to for the lung transplant, you have to be within the hospital. So you have to be within the hospital by just, as close as you can be. And so I was moving apartments, and my mom was my caregiver, and my boyfriend at the time was my caregiver, who actually is my husband now. But it was very overwhelming for me, who's very type A controlling. I wanted my apartment a certain way. I actually couldn't even physically go and look at apartments. I
Wow.
couldn't even look online. It just, everything was very overwhelming, very stressful. So my mom had to do it all. And so she did. And then she called a cleaning service to come in to help clean because you can't have, your immune system's shot. So you can't have, a lot of dust. Everything's got to be kind of clean as you can possibly get it. And so they did all that. And it was overwhelming. But after that, it was a set system and I had to accept certain things. And you're right, it is kind of a struggle because you want to just do it yourself. But I did. So with that, after that, I still had to remember I need to try to maintain this clean environment and reduce allergies, dust. So, what are some things that people with lung, heart, any illness really, when they need to try to reduce that, what are some areas that really clutter up the most and just really collect dust that we should really focus on, I think?
Well, I think it's stuff. I mean, I think having stuff out in the open is attracting dust. And when I think about the cluttered homes, if you've got clutter, you it's hard to clean, right? So it's hard to maintain a clean home if you have, let's say I'm talking about, I mean, now there's all manner of clutter, but if we're talking just about stuff on the surfaces, if you can eradicate that and then just try to have less stuff so that if you can store stuff in their storage like places, if you can store your cups and glasses in the cupboard, they're not going to attract dust. Also, though, there's a lot of people love decorative items,
Mhm.
and I don't happen to be one of them, so I don't have a lot of that in my house, but I see it in other people's homes, and that stuff definitely attracts dust. So maybe think about minimizing that. And the things like shoes. I mean, shoes. It's funny how much dust I see on shoes in people's homes because a lot of us have shoes we don't wear. And if we're not
Mhm.
wearing them, they're just attracting dust, even if they're in the closet. So I feel like just having less stuff, ideally, will help you have less dust
Mhm.
because and because there's fewer things for dust to fall on and so much easier to clean. So I
Yes.
think having less dust helps. It helps to clean more frequently, and it's a lot easier to clean if you don't have as much stuff. So, but also, areas like behind the door. I mean, I notice a lot of dust bunnies and things that happen behind
Yeah.
the door and the baseboards, that sort of thing. And that's not so hard, not as difficult to clean typically. It's just a matter of it's invisible if it's behind the door. So keeping an eye on that sort of stuff. I mean, I feel very fortunate to have somebody who cleans the house a couple times a month, which it was my ideal, my dream for decades before I finally could afford to do it. And that helps a lot. But I was thinking as you were talking about your experience, that combination of the adjustment of after a transplant of the medications and your vulnerability to infection, that takes a real mindset shift and also a lot of like a lot of pills to keep track of, right? I mean, we have full drawers in our house
Yeah.
in a bathroom of drugs, and keeping track of that stuff is really tricky, and hats off to you for getting, I mean, obviously you have accomplished it. And we had the situation where my husband was hospitalized 2 days after we moved into our apartment. So, and we live walking distance. We moved walking distance from the hospital.
Oh,
So, it's a very similar situation to what you
yeah.
went through. Yeah. So, but now we don't have to go to the hospital very much, but it's still
Yeah.
nice to be close. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, so yeah,
Especially with a
that's
team who knows you. Mhm.
right. Yeah. Yeah. He would not have been able to. be released to our house, our apartment, rather than a rehab place. I don't think
Mm.
we lived in our old house.
Hmm.
Yeah, so because there were too many stairs, and
Hmm.
knowing that he was close by was really helpful. Um, so yeah, dust is tricky, but I think to me the answer is less stuff.
Yeah, and so then when you come in, like, so for somebody who does have chronic illness, so like for myself, my family loves stuff. And I
Uh-huh.
feel like I'm constantly gathering stuff to donate. So I take my stuff to donate if I can, or we just, throw it away if it's just not good enough. But I definitely try to donate as much as I can. And I find that it's actually a lot all the time. It's easier to manage when it's a little bit, here and there. But when your company comes in and you help organize and stuff for people, is that something also that you would help set up with them? Like, okay, well, let's set up a donation, maybe place to come to you, or we'll take this stuff to a donation thing.
So when we work with clients, part of what we do is take away their donations, which is hugely helpful. It makes a big difference because so many people have the best of intentions of doing it themselves, and it doesn't happen, especially if they're not physically able to do it easily. So yeah, for us, we take away the donations, and we have a whole, we call it sustainable donation system, where we actually have a storage unit. So we will take the stuff to the storage unit and sort it by the type of uh, charity that it's best suited for. My employees are passionate about that, so we have the space that we can put all the stuff that goes to the crafts people, and the stuff that goes to the teachers and so forth. Um, so that's what works for us. But for individuals after we leave, um, I recommend having like something as simple as a Trader Joe's bag, a paper bag or
Mhm.
box that you put somewhere. Let's say if you're somebody who has a lot of clothes, put it in your bedroom closet, and then when you try something on, you realize I don't like it, just go ahead and put it in the bag right then. So you don't have to
Mhm.
go through that again. You don't have to make the
Yeah.
decision again. And then when the bag gets full, it's not that hard to put in your car and drop it off. If you can, for all things, if you can do that, do little things often it can be really helpful and keep it from getting overwhelming. I like to get in our life now that we're in an apartment instead of a house, I like to get stuff out more quickly than before when I had a basement. But the
Yeah.
basement got overwhelming. So,
We can just throw it in the basement.
yeah, I kind of miss the basement, but I don't really because of that. It's nice to know that, I mean, we
Hmm.
have limits, and so we have to think about where we're going to put something before we buy it.
Hmm. Yeah.
Um,
No, that is
you
really
know,
nice too.
and you can do that when you have a house too. It doesn't, I mean, I could have been always doing that. I didn't have to
Yeah.
move into an apartment.
Yeah.
But limited space does help with that. And certainly my tolerance for excess has gone way down since I became an organizer, because I see how excess gets in the way of people enjoying their lives, and how
Hmm.
having just the right amount then allows them to enjoy their lives more.
Yeah. So, so after you come in and you've cleaned everything and everything's all set and organized with the client, it's like, okay, this is what we want to do and we want to maintain. What are some simple ways that these people can continue to do that? Is it like you said, so the little Trader Joe's bag's a great idea. But what would be some other things to do would be like a write up a schedule, things, something that they can do.
Yeah, creating routines, I think is just really helpful. And it's going to vary depending on the individual, but it might be that you do certain things like one room a day, like 5 days a week. If you have 5 rooms, you focus on that. Or I don't do this anymore, but I just realized since we moved. But I used to wipe down the bathroom sink every encounter every day as
Mhm.
part after I finished brushing my teeth and stuff. And then it was always reasonable,
Mhm.
right? And it didn't ever get disgusting. Or maybe that was before I got cleaners. That's why I did. Maybe that's why I don't do it. It doesn't get disgusting in 2 weeks. Um, or clearing, as I said before, clearing off your surfaces. Those kind of daily routines where you're just putting stuff away, getting into a habit of putting stuff away is huge. And if you declutter to the point where it's easy to put stuff away, that's the key. It's really hard to put stuff away if your closet
Mhm.
is full. But paring down where you can easily put stuff away, and if it's that stuff you're using most often is in the easy to reach places, then it's not as hard. Um, you can certainly create a schedule of, and actually if you go online and Google it, there's lots of suggestions on
Mm-hmm.
like cleaning or decluttering schedules. But really, I think just I personally am a huge believer in the value of a daily routine. So I know when you're chronically ill, your energy resources are variable, but if you have a baseline of stuff like for for me, for us, running the dishwasher every night is huge. It's
Mm-hmm.
because there's never a buildup of dirty dishes. And I will have to, my husband actually does all the hand washing of the dishes. So, but, but every morning I empty the dishwasher and we're back to, a clean slate for the day. Those kinds of things. Laundry every whatever, however often it has to be, but maybe it's every week. And then I like to suggest to people that it's not done until it's put away because I personally find dressing out of a laundry basket to feel terrible. Like I do not, it doesn't happen that often because I do put stuff away, but every now and then I'm digging through a basket of clean laundry. That doesn't feel good to me. So getting the laundry, not checking it off the list until you've actually put it in the closet or the dresser. And then doing that frequently enough that you, uh, that's easy to do, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
if, if you're doing it once a week rather than once a month, it's going to be less of a
Mm-hmm.
hassle. Or once,
Yeah.
I mean, I know lots of moms are doing it every day. People with big
Yeah.
families.
Well, definitely. And especially when you said that about digging out of the laundry basket for clean clothes, I find that I actually love doing laundry, but I hate folding and putting them away, which I think probably a lot of people do. But my kids sometimes their stuff will be in the clean laundry basket and it'll be a matter of them digging and trying to find clean clothes. And
Yeah,
it's a
well,
part of me trying to say you have to help out and do your part and we need to learn how to put our clothes away. And this
right.
is how we do
We're
it
gonna
too,
teach
but it can be hard.
Yeah. But the
Yeah.
the key there though with the putting away clothes is make it easy to put them away, right? So
Yes.
have it might, I mean, with kids, it might it might be that you want to be more general in what away looks like. Like maybe you just have a drawer of underwear and it's all thrown in there. It doesn't have to
Hmm.
be folded or sorted or same with socks. You could, I mean, I'm not sure I'd want to do that, but you could have all your socks loose in a drawer and then they would pick out the two that match. Or actually,
Hmm.
I love the idea of having only one kind of sock, so you don't have to worry about matching. Maybe that's
Hmm.
something to do. Or I know somebody, an organizer whose clients she had mesh bags for each kid, and then she put all the socks and the underwear for the kid in the bag and wash and dry it in the bag, and then just give the bag to the kid, and the kid could put it away or not. Just, but all
Well,
the it was
that's an idea.
together. Yeah.
Yeah, that's an interesting, good idea. Yeah. But you're right, it is all about a system and getting down to it. So I think the biggest thing too that happens is when we get sick. So this past Christmas, right after Christmas, I got the flu and it was absolutely horrible. I was in bed for 2 weeks and
Oh
I
my
kid you
God.
not, in bed, I could not move. It was
Oh,
horrible. And so laundry piled up. It was, I felt my husband had to take the reins and try to take care of me and the family and work full time. It was very stressful. So, but during those setbacks, after that, when my stamina was still very, very limited, but it started to come up, what would have been some advice? Because everything was very overwhelming. Everything was kind of a mess. So, what would be your advice for someone like me with that? Where would be the first thing to maybe start on slowly? Just the first thing to look at. What do you think?
well, I would think getting some help would be really great. And maybe that's a laundry service, like
Hmm.
call a laundry service that will come and pick up your laundry and they fold them so well. I mean, it's I don't know how they do it. There's like just this very low pile. One, yeah. So then it's easy to put it away. Or you call a friend or somebody a family member who can come in and under your direction, perhaps help you recreate the order that had fallen by the wayside because of
Mm.
your illness. And you're right, your husband's trying to keep the family together and work. It's hard to get him
Hmm.
to, I mean, do everything. But maybe if you have someone you can call in or call an organizer, certainly. I mean, we're the professional organizers are all over the place and we're very good at that sort of thing.
Hmm.
Um, but reaching out for help is what would be my suggestion.
That, and that's such a good point because a lot of people with chronic illness, I sometimes think that we try to do everything and juggle everything and not reach out for support.
Mhm.
And you bring up a very good point. I mean, we need to know when to let it go because the stress is just going to be too much and affecting us health. That it's like just let it go and have somebody come in and support. So, is that something definitely that in those situations they could reach out to your company and be like, I need you help to help me organize my stuff and get it all organized again. Is that something like that then?
And we can do, and depending on their needs, like if it's about organizing the space, sure, our company would be great. If it's more about like errands and that sort of thing. Many places, including St. Louis where I live, have concierge companies that take care of all those kinds of things. I mean, there's lots of
Mm-hmm.
in cities anyway, there's lots of that kind of
Mm-hmm.
help that you can get and or specialized help like laundry services or cleaning services. I mean, the problem, of course, is if things got cluttered while you were, or not cluttered, but you just stuff didn't get put away.
Mm-hmm.
It house cleaners typically don't put your stuff away. They just clean around
Mm-hmm.
it. So an organizer or a concierge or a neighbor or a friend. But yes, it can be really helpful. But accepting that help and realizing that it's perfectly okay to have help. We all need help, but people with chronic illness in particular deserve help. And I do observe that some folks is it because those of you with chronic illness, is it because you want to maintain as much normalcy, if you will, that you used to be able to do this. I should be able to do this now by myself. I want to do as much as I can. Certainly saw that with my dad. In
Mm-hmm.
his he was just old. He didn't have a
Mm-hmm.
lot of illness, but is that sort of what's going on there?
Yeah, I think that, you touched on it earlier when you said there's a lot of should have, I should do this. I should be able to do this. You really got it when you said that earlier. I think that's the biggest issue is that a lot of us sit back and think we should be able to do this, even though physically can't, and maybe even mentally can't. It's a lot of I should have, why can't I? I think it's a lot of that. And I think you're right. It feeds into this stress and depression that spiral out of control. So what would be like if you were talking to somebody and they said that, what would be your advice in general about that?
If they said I should be able to do this,
Mm-hmm.
I think I would say, well, there's lots of things I should be able to do that I elect to have somebody else do for me because I don't like doing it or I'm not good at it. Like somebody cleans my house. That's very happy making to me. And I'm sure I have other things that people do for me. And it's my choice, right? Um, it's not because I can't do it, but also I was just thinking this is one of our challenges of being a professional organizer because everybody thinks they should be able to organize their house. Uh,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
and so I managed to create a business, a successful business, helping people do things that they think they should be able to do. Um, I could perhaps learn how to repair my car, but no, I take my car to a mechanic. I mean, we can't do everything. And I do understand it's a little different for people with chronic illness because it's not as much of a choice. Like I get to make the choice of having someone clean my house rather than having to do it because I can't do it myself. But your good self-care is about conserving your energy to do the things that you want to do and enjoy doing, or that no one else can do for you. So
Mhm.
I think self-care is it's a big component for everybody, but for folks whose energy is limited and who for whom everyday living can be struggle, doing as much as you can to make it easy for yourself, I think is the nice way to go about it.
Mhm. No, and that's great advice. And when you say it that way, like you have a choice. You're choosing to do it or not do it. But I think that chronic illness people probably should look at it that way too. It's a choice. Maybe you
Mhm.
can't do it, but it still is a choice to invite somebody else in to help you to do it. And I've always said to anybody, if I win the lottery, I'm getting a chef. I am paying somebody to cook and do all that because that is just a stress on a whole nother level of
Right.
stuff. So, but I think that's great. Thank you so much. And if people, so all my chronic illness people out there who really need your services, how can they find you?
Well, if you're in St. Louis, we help people locally at peaceofmindorganizing.com. That's PEACE of mindorganizing.com. I also have a podcast called Getting to Good Enough that's about letting go of perfectionism so you can do more of what you love, which I imagine fits right into this conversation. And my co-host is Shannon Wilkinson, who's a life coach. So we just talk about all things perfectionism. I'm also a YNAB budgeting coach. So if you happen to be somebody who uses the YNAB, this software that stands for You Need a Budget, I coach people with that. But also, if you're not in St. Louis and you're interested in getting help from a professional organizer, there's a professional association called NAPO. It's a National Association of Productivity and Organizing Professionals at napo.net. And there's find a professional directory on there. So professional organizers, especially NAPO members who have a code of ethics and so forth, and we take training very seriously, training and education. It's a If you hire a NAPO professional, you're going to get somebody who is non-judgmental and just extremely compassionate and helpful. And the things that we can do for people because we have no emotions tied up in the stuff in the house.
Mhm.
We just come in and it's just more stuff. We just come in and we
Mhm.
take care of it for you. So napo.net is a great place to go. And if you're struggling with severe clutter, another organization that's really helpful is called the Institute for Challenging Disorganization. And that's at challengingdisorganization.org. And it's full of professionals who help people who are challenged by chronic disorganization, including organizers and related professionals, mental health professionals. It's also a great organization. And they have a directory. It's a much smaller group. It's really a specialist, if you will. So if that resonates with you, going to that group and their directory you'll help you find someone who's really good at the big clutter.
Great. No, that sounds wonderful. And I'll have all those links down for everybody to see. So thank you so much. And thank you so much for spending time with us and have a wonderful rest of the day. Thank you.
Thanks. It was very nice talking to you, Christina.
Thanks.